to come. Richard, how about just your thoughts about what it's going to look like when these three guys are on the floor together?
I'm going to be really honest. I think the entire NBA, historians, fans, like everybody from around the NBA community is very, very curious. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of talent. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of skill and firepower. So it's like you know what you're getting, and then you start to look at, if you're really a purist, you look at, okay, where do they need help? They need to play better defense. That's something that has already been an issue that's been, kind of brought up. Then you have to look at, whenever Kyrie gets back, how is he feeling? What is his status, which is still up in the air? We know James Harden. We saw his numbers right there in his statistics. He's one of the great basketball players of this generation, but he's not in great shape. He is not in the type of shape that it's going to take to win a championship. So there's still a lot of unknown. But at the end of the day, the Brooklyn Nets have 3 of the top 10 players in the NBA on their roster right now.
Yeah, and we heard Steve Nash have to dance around talking about this subject in the pregame, but the one thing he did say is it's a stars league. It's pretty incredible when you think about it, Richard. And obviously, there are Nets fans who are going to miss Jared Allen and going to miss Karis LeVert, rightfully so, and who are worried about the trove of picks. But when you think about where this team was 4.5, 5 years ago, even just 3 years ago, and now you have Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving on the same team, I mean, it's a ridiculous turnaround story.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous turnaround story and such a compliment to Sean Marks. Like, he took over a team with no picks that was at the bottom. That I think the trade for D'Angelo Russell, bringing him in, that was probably the turning point, because D'Angelo Russell really started to blossom. Then Spencer and Karis, they hit on their draft picks with guys like Jared Allen. It's been really, really impressive to watch the development of Joe Harris, who was out of the league, came back, and then ended up leading the NBA in three-point percentage and is one of the best three-point shooters in the league right now. So there's so many little pieces that kind of lead to this direction. One thing I will say, though, is if you look at traditional big threes, there's complements along, whether it was the Boston big three, the Cleveland big three. When you start to look at these teams, even in Miami with D Wade and LeBron and Chris Bosh, I don't know how well they complement each other. It's not like there's a big and there's 2 smalls, or there's a point guard, a scorer, and a big. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they all mesh. Even when you look at the Golden State big three with Clay, Steph, and KD, they're all shooters. So there's all a tremendous amount of movement, not a ton of ball handling, especially for Clay, who was just a shooter. But this Brooklyn Nets team has all the firepower. It's all about, can they get in shape? Can they all buy in the way that they need to, and then how do they learn how to play together and still pursue what they want to pursue?
How about the other pieces, Richard, that are going to need to augment those stars? When you look at the Nets roster, and obviously, look, they have 3 open roster spots once this trade becomes official, so they're not done. Where are the areas where you say this is the kind of player they need if they want to be a championship team? We know they have the core now with these guys, but what kind of players will they need, Richard, to actually be able to complete this journey and win a title?
I think some very, very selfless, defenders, some guys that are just going to go out there and just move the ball movers, not ball stoppers. You have 3 of the best ball stoppers because they're great offensive players in the game right now. So guys that catch the ball to move it, spot-up shooters, guys that can knock down spot-up shoots, and really just defenders. That is the key. I love Jeff Green because he's such a hybrid player. He can play the stretch 5, he can play the 4, he can play some 3, but that's what they really do. They really need to fill out this roster with guys that understand it's not about them. It's about, how do I mesh with this team and how do I mesh with these 3 superstars?
How about the Kyrie Irving situation, Richard? You're uniquely positioned to talk about Kyrie because you played with him. You have some insight into what it's like to be his teammate. Obviously, he's going to come back to a very different roster whenever he comes back. But where do you feel the Nets should be sitting right now with Kyrie after making this Harden deal? Is this in any way, is this also insurance, or is this maybe even a motivating factor for Kyrie to get back even quicker?
Well, again, it's so hard to speak on these things without any information. The team has been tight-lipped, and even the team didn't have information. You saw Steve Nash say, "Hey, I haven't talked to him. I reached out to him in the very beginning." So there's been some breaks in communication. Is this an insurance policy? Yes, but look, you got Kevin Durant, who is having an amazing season, but he's also coming off Achilles. If you don't know what Kyrie's situation is, when he might be back, Kevin Durant didn't come here to play by himself. And if you're the Nets and you want to make sure that Kevin Durant is happy, you have to make sure that there is talent on the court with him. And so the ability to go get James Harden was huge. Going back to Kyrie, if his mind, if his heart is not in it right now, look, we saw so many WNBA players take the entire year off to focus on social injustice. We saw players not go to the bubble to focus on social injustice. If his heart is someplace else, if his mind is someplace else, he can take time off. You just have to communicate that with your organization. And lastly, I'll say this. I support Kyrie. Whatever he needs to do to get his mentals, to get his mind back to being passionate about the game of basketball and back to playing the game of basketball, it's all for it. It's just all about communication.
I think that's so well put, Richard, and you're right. I think that's the part that people have felt a little limbo, is not having the communication piece. Hey, Saturday night on Yes, do not miss Brooklyn's next game as the Nets return to Barclays Center to host the Orlando Magic. Coverage begins Saturday, 5:30 with the FanDuel Sportsbook Net pregame right here on Yes, and we shall see whether or not James Harden will be joining Kevin Durant for that contest. We're going to step aside here on the postgame. Still plenty more to do. A busy day for the Nets that ends with a 116-109 win.
Digital transformation has failed to take off.
Only had 9 available players tonight due to the reported James Harden trade. Kevin Durant playing in the second half of a back-to-back that he has since his injury, put up 26 points, 6 assists in the victory. We await to hear from some of the Nets players following that win. Richard, we've talked a lot about the Harden trade. Want to get back to that in a moment, but one other thing that really stood out from tonight's game that sort of ties into the Harden deal, Reggie Perry coming off the bench, the rookie giving the Nets some quality minutes. It would seem that Perry and or Nick Claxton would have to figure into the Nets equation if they're going to be able to put together the bigs they need to surround the stars they have on this team after this deal.
And let me say this. I'm not saying that the Nets are going to make another blockbuster trade or they're going to do something that's crazy, but they have guys on their roster that can contribute. Reggie Perry did a very, very good job of filling in spots, being in the right place, and that's what you need. You need energy guys. You need guys that can contribute to this team without having to call a play for them, that are able to be in the right spots, that can knock down shots, because those are the guys that are going to get key opportunities. And you look at this, 11 points in 22 minutes and 5 rebounds. And they did not call one play for Reggie Perry. Those are the type of players that superstars love to play with, where I know that you're going to show up, you're going to shoot very efficiently when I get you the shots and when I get you to the right spots.
Reggie Perry was a guy we heard so many people during training camp rave about. I had a conversation with Joe Harris where he said, Reggie Perry could be in our rotation. And he was a guy who was not on the radar in that regard, but obviously took advantage of his opportunity tonight. I also thought, Richard, that we saw a better bounce from DeAndre Jordan. Look, it's no surprise or it's not speaking out of school to say this man has struggled mightily to begin this season. But tonight, he seemed to have a different level of bounce, and the Nets are going to need something out of DeAndre Jordan if they are going to remain as they are currently constructed.
Yes, I completely agree. And look, trading Jared Allen, who was having a very, very good start to the season, that just puts more pressure on DeAndre Jordan. And I don't mean pressure like DeAndre Jordan can't handle it, but you don't have DeAndre's having an off night, but Jared Allen is playing great. No, it's like, well, DeAndre, you're going to keep going out there, and we're going to get this right, and we're going to get you and the group, situated. But I will say this. as much as we know about the Nets right now, right? We don't know about Kyrie and when he's going to be back, and we don't know about James Harden, his conditioning. So all the other guys like DeAndre Jordan, his defense, his contributions, his connection with KD and how they play. These guys are going to be so key to help bridge this gap until the Nets can really be who they are, and that looks like it could be a little bit of ways away.
Bruce Brown, another guy who shined last night, had 3 straight big buckets in the fourth quarter last night in the win against Denver. Huge game again tonight, put up 14 rebounds. Richard, what has stood out most to you about watching Bruce Brown as he started to get some consistent run for this Nets team?
Well, I just think his energy and the way he approaches the game is something that, I really like. You see him getting out, running the floor so many times out on the break. And again, as a person that played with Jason Kidd, like if you just run, you get rewarded. And you see this again, offensive rebounds. These are opportunities that he gets, a cut right down the middle. Finding those gaps and finding those spots to really contribute. So he got 13 field goals up. Really, there was probably about 8 or 9 field goals where he got just being in the right place, cutting to the open spot, running in transition. So it's always key when you have big threes, and these large lineups that are filled with superstars. How do we fill in the gap? You can go and look at, Livingston and Andre Iguodala that were surrounding the big three in Golden State. Mike Miller, Shane Battiers, those were the guys that were filling in the gaps in Miami. So if you look at across the NBA history, when you have big threes, you got to have guys that can fill in the gaps without having plays called for them.
I mean, what you were in Cleveland for your championship team as well.
I didn't want to say my name. Look, guys, it's not about me. It's not about me. But yes, that's a very good point. That's something that I actually took a ton of pride in. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Sean Marks go get a bunch of veteran guys or 1 or 2 veteran guys. It's like, hey, what do you need from me? I don't care if I start. I don't care if I get DMPs for 3 weeks, but I'll be ready to play. Those are the type of veterans that really can help your roster, because it's like, hey, we're going to play the young guys, but come the postseason, I need you to be in shape. I need you to be ready. I need you to be a leader. And so these are individuals, roles that I played in my career when I was towards the end that can really help a team's success. And I just would love to see 1 or 2 guys on this roster that can help fill in those gaps.
And while the Nets traded a lot of assets today in the deal for Harden, they do have some financial flexibility to bring in some of those kind of players. We know the buyout market has been robust in years past as well for title contenders. Well, Kevin Durant playing in the second half of a back-to-back tonight for the first time since his Achilles injury, 26 points, 6 assists, and another win. Let's hear from KD.
Hey, Kevin, how big was tonight from a chemistry standpoint with all that happened today, shorthanded, against this Knicks team on the second half of back-to-back? From a chemistry standpoint, how big was this one for the team?
There's a lot more people in here today. It's a good win, especially we talked about it last night. We want to finish the second half of the back-to-back, and especially with a team that's right across the bridge from us. And we know what that rivalry is like, and we know how the intensity that this team plays with and at home. So we really wanted this game tonight, and everybody played like it. And, from top to bottom, it was a great effort.
Given the news today, your reaction to, losing teammates in Karras and Jarrett and Torian, but also welcoming in, a teammate in James Harden?
I heard that's not even finalized yet, so I'll talk about it another time.
Brian Lewis with the New York Post.
Hey, Kevin, was this any kind of barometer for you? I know playing back-to-back was something you wanted to get to the point where you could do. 36 minutes, I think, the other night, 30-some-odd tonight after having to come back in late. Was that a big step for you?
Yeah, most definitely. I wanted to see how my body felt this morning, how I felt after the game last night, and I was just trying to monitor everything leading up into the game, and obviously throughout the game, and I felt good. So hopefully, I know I keep building on it, and as the season goes along, I continue to keep getting stronger and more, and get used to the game again, a schedule to travel, everything. So this was a good step.
Greg Logan with Newsday.
Kevin, you've been at such a tremendous level the whole season, but the rest of the team has been kind of up and down. without getting into the details of the events of today, do you think this team is approaching a point where, even though there's a lot of hard work ahead, that you'll be able to focus and know what to expect coming in the future and be able to work through some of these issues that you've had as a team?
Well, yeah, I think everybody has throughout the league is trying to work out the kinks and figure out their lineups and rotations and stuff. And we're no different. And I think moving forward, I mean, we will always make adjustments and try to get better every single day. That's always been the goal. And try not to worry too much about the future. Just focus on what's in front of us today.
Malika Andrews with ESPN.
Hey, Kevin, I know you don't want to get into things until they are official, but looking into the past, what was it like to play with James? What do you remember about him as a teammate? Because you have played together.
It was fun.
Alex Schiffer with The Athletic.
Kevin, what do you think of Reggie Perry's game? He got an extended run with you guys. I think he started at 4 for 4.
Yeah, love what Reggie brought today. You got a dog over there, Julius Randle, who we told him to just guard up. We're not going to send too much help, and I think he did a solid job of just putting the body in front of him and also rebounding the ball and finishing around the rim. And he hit a 3 tonight too. So Reggie, plays like a seasoned vet. It feels like, but he's still learning every single day. But he has that toughness that's going to allow him to go out there and make good plays when he's on the floor.
Christian Winfield with the New York Daily News.
Hey, Kevin, given the history between the Nets and the Knicks, does this win have any different feeling in terms of just the rivalry standpoint? And since there's no fans, did that kind of just take away from the experience of what it's like to play at the Garden?
Most definitely. I mean, and having no fans in these arenas are taking away the whole NBA experience for sure. But the Mecca of basketball, the Garden, and for them not to have fans, and especially with this rivalry and how much tension between both teams, amongst both teams' fan bases, definitely missed the fans out there tonight. And I'm sure they would have gave them an extra push as they would try to get back into the game. But, down the line, I know these battles are going to be tough, no matter what each team's record is. It's just the fact that, it's about New York City right now. Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks is always going to be a good draw. So it's a good step for us. And, we know this team, the Knicks, are going to come back even better next game.
Bruce Beck with NBC Sports.
Kevin, you've had a laser focus since game one. Is it about being healthy? Is it about being a professional? Is it about just winning? How would you describe that?
Just trying to be the best I can each possession and each rep. I've been always trying to take that approach as a pro, and and then you got guys around you who have that same approach and love for the game, and just is making me better, and hopefully I'm rubbing off on my teammates well.
Thanks so much, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Well, we'll take a look at the Land Rover player of the game. It is indeed Kevin Durant. 26 points on 10 of 18 shooting, 6 assists, 3 of 5 from deep. And you heard him say, yeah, this was a test for him, and when he came through feeling well about. We'll take a break one more time here on the postgame. We'll come back, wrap things up after a 116-109 Nets win.
First play of lunch. Oh, I gotta see that again. He's looking at not 1, not 2, not 3, but 19 grams of protein per can and chunky.
Doing what it takes to get the dub, play against a good young team, and we wanted to come out and and fight. And I think we did a good job of that.
Given the trade, the guys who were absent, obviously following the news, what was the communication like in the locker room as you guys locked in for this game?
Was just to be there for each other, to know things happen in the NBA, but tonight, with the group of guys that we have to worry about tonight, when everything follows through and we're all joined all together, that's when we can communicate on the basis of integrating James. So, but tonight we had to focus on the task at hand, and that was getting the dub tonight.
Malika Andrews with ESPN.
Hey, Jeff, in focusing on the task at hand, you were without several players tonight that if and when this goes through, you'll be without for the rest of time, foreseeable future, however you want to characterize that. You've been so big on defensive identity. Where do you get that from now without someone like Jared Allen?
I mean, it's a group effort. We have to do it as a team. We have, great vets on this team that are going to do their part. And, our team collectively are going to, join together and make sure that we're going to do what it takes to, get defensive stops. DJ, Kev, myself, Bruce, we're going to be locked in on that end because we know on the other end, we got guys that can score the ball. So if we're locked in on that end collectively, I think we'll be fine.
Greg Logan with Newsday.
Hi, Jeff. Without getting into all the details of the trade, is it going to feel like kind of a season restart when whatever group comes together on Friday to practice? Is it going to feel like you're starting from scratch almost?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just one guy that, we had to integrate and, get acquainted with what we're trying to accomplish and what we're doing on the floor. And I'm pretty sure he'll pick it up fast. We're going to do what we got to do to make sure he's aware of, where the spots and, what we're looking for. And, he's going to do what he does best. And I think it'd be good for us, but I don't look at it as a restart. It's just another juice of energy that we're going to get from, him being on the floor and being part of this team.
Brian Mahoney with the Associated Press.
Hey, Jeff, we all saw James Harden's interview last night. Obviously looked really upset, kind of ended the line there. You were just on that team last year in Houston. Were you hoping for his sake and for their sake they could do something quickly and get a bad situation over with?
I'm being honest, I really wasn't too focused on what was going on down there. I was more focused on what we were trying to accomplish before everything happened today. I really wasn't too caught up in, what direction or, the sayings that was going on in the Houston locker room or organization. My focus was here, being a Brooklyn Net. So I can't really answer that.
Christian Winfield with the New York Daily News.
Hey, Jeff, just given the history between the Knicks and the Nets, did this kind of feel like a rivalry game? And what's the experience like at MSG when there's no fans?
It's a little awkward. It's a little awkward with no fans. 13 years of playing with fans here, you get that aura. I was telling our rookie Reggie, he's not fully experiencing Madison Square without the fans. And it's weird. It's weird being here without fans, but the rivalry, you got two teams that's battling, two teams that's trying to claim New York. So it's it's good. You got an up-and-coming young team, and you got a veteran team on the other side that's fighting for a championship. So we came out with the dubs tonight, but I'm pretty sure next game they're going to come out with more energy and focus to try to even it up.
Well, Jeff Green, a little more willing to delve into the reported trade that is not yet official with James Harden being dealt to the Nets, him saying that it's not going to be a restart. It's just integrating one player, and he's pretty confident that one player will pick things up quickly. DeAndre Jordan tonight, 9 points, 12 rebounds, 2 blocks. He has certainly seen a lot in his NBA career. Let's hear from the Nets center.
Hey, DJ, obviously there's reaction from the public on the big news today, but what's the communication like in the locker room as you guys get the news, but you're also trying to lock in for a game on the second half of back-to-back?
I think that's just the thing. We were just trying to focus in on getting the win, coming out and competing, extending this, the way that we're playing and, getting everybody involved and incorporated. But, it was good to come out here today and compete and get a win.
You being a veteran, understanding, the business of the game, of course, what is it like, though, and how difficult is it losing teammates, along this NBA journey?
It's tough, especially, for some guys who this is their first time dealing with that experience, and they got drafted here, had a lot of great time here, grew a lot as players, as young men here. But this is the tough part of the business that nobody ever wants to experience, but it is a reality, and I wish those guys the best. I had a lot of fun with those guys, and learning with them, from them, grinding with those guys the past season and a half. It's been a great ride. I wish them nothing but success.
Greg Logan with Newsday.
And DeAndre, I don't know if you care to share anything personal, but did you have any conversation with Karis and Jarrett in particular?
I talked to all of those guys. I'll keep those conversations private. So hopefully you guys can respect that.